All right, yeah, he's going to be a minute late. Okay, we'll just have to start letting people in.
Show must go on.
The show must go on. All right, let me admit everybody. All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday morning. Hi, Olivia, good to see you. Hi, Peter Paul. Hi, Jonathan. Good morning, good to see you. Randeep, great to see you. Rosa, hi. Cindy, it's great to have you here as well. Welcome. Everyone, just so we make sure the chat is working. Oh, it's already going off, but if you want to make sure that it's working, just share where you're tuning in from in the chat. We love seeing where everyone is in the world for these community sessions. So go ahead and put where you are in the chat. It's always really fun to see. Awesome. DC, Michigan, San Diego, St. Louis, Ontario, Canada, Hayward, Detroit, UK, San Francisco, way to represent the Bay Area. Awesome. Oregon. Hi, Sophia. Sophia's in Chicago, New Jersey, Costa Rica. Oh, hi, Ivan. Oh, you're in Florida. Awesome. Wales, Indiana. It's awesome to have everybody here. We'll get started in just a moment. So grab your coffee, grab your oatmeal, whatever you need. Invite a friend, share the Zoom link. We'll get started in just a moment here. Good morning, good morning. If you're just joining us, go ahead and put where you're tuning in from in the chat. We always love to see where people are joining in the world from. Cedrus, yes, there will be a recording available of this session in our community offsite. I'll share more details soon. Good question. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Carly. I am our Director of Programming here at Learnit, and I'm thrilled to have you all here and to have Faz Kareem leading us in Secrets of Effective Email. For those of you that are new to Learnit, welcome. We are a learning and development organization based out of San Francisco, California, but our team is dispersed all over the United States. My colleague Marissa, who's with us, is over in Florida. I'm here in San Diego. And really our goal, one, through this community program is to make learning and resources for upskilling accessible for everybody around the world. And two, to really help teams at scale build the skills, both soft skills, emotional intelligence, communication, conflict management, and hard skills. So things with technology to really help us all elevate and grow and become better versions of ourselves for the economy of today and the economy of tomorrow. And in today's kind of rapidly changing world, in this hybrid work environment we're all in, it's a great time to focus on honing in on new skills and taking a new approach. So thank you for being here. For our veterans, for people that have been coming week over week to sessions, and to our clients that are here, I want to thank you also for being a part of this community and for being a customer of Learnit as well. So a couple of housekeeping items just before we get started here. Again, these sessions every Friday morning are part of a weekly community event series, and we choose our events based on a monthly theme. So this month we're focusing on people leadership. We've done a couple of sessions on how to really be an effective, not just an effective manager, but really be a people leader, no matter whether you're managing up, down, across an organization, or maybe starting a project of your own. And all of these sessions are led by subject matter experts. So our own internal content and instructor team here at Learnit, who design all of our content, and also special thought leaders and guest speakers that we trust and love to bring you really new ideas and fresh ideas for this community. And so with that, also a couple housekeeping items. This session, again, will be recorded. We will be providing it in our free online learning community called Offsite, which we will put a link to in the chat during and after the session. We'd love to keep the conversation with you going over there, and the slide decks from this presentation will also be available in Offsite, and you can keep networking there. And also, this session is meant to be interactive. So if you have questions, we have everyone on mute just to keep the quality of these events good and well. But please use the chat to ask your questions. Marissa and I will be capturing those, and there'll be time and pauses throughout the session, and then at the end of the session to address those. So please do keep that chat active as well, and you can also private message me. And so with that, I'd love to introduce all of you to Faz Karim. Faz is an expert in business applications and data analysis. Faz actually oversees all of our Learnits, or all of our remote application and tech programs for mid and large size organizations. So when we go into organizations and design full scale, either tech adoption programs or just teaching people how to use technology, Faz is really our leader in that, along with Joe Patty, who many of you know. Faz is also an educator and, of course, an instructional program designer and a project manager. And he's consulted for some of our largest clients. So we're thrilled to have him here. And with that, I will pass the baton over to Faz. Faz, thanks so much for being here.
Cool. I couldn't unmute myself. It wasn't letting me. I'm like, unmute me, unmute me. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. I know she was saying thank you for being here to Faz. I want to say thank you for every one of our participants here for making some time for me today. Thank you for that too. With that being said, we do have a nice treat. We have about an hour session here talking about the secrets of effective email. This is a class that me and one of my instructional designers put together. And it was just a great hit for some of our executive teams and leadership teams, and even executive assistants that took these courses to just get an idea of when to use what tool, how to leverage Outlook, how to leverage Microsoft Teams, versus even leveraging your instant messaging within, if you have a phone or a phone text message system built in. So there's a lot of good little content that I have here. It's not the full content, but I do want to go through this content discussing the secrets of effective email, and as well as some tips and tricks of how we can design and write out emails to report back a situation. And that way we can go ahead and have the most important things in the areas that they need to be and follow a certain structure that's easy to follow and read along our emails. So let me share this PowerPoint deck. I'm sure this PowerPoint deck will end up being available within Offsite at the end of the training. So hopefully you are a member of Offsite there, but let me go ahead and start this slideshow here. And of course, it starts on my second monitor. Let me go ahead and swap that. There we go. Cool. Secrets of effective email. You know, I usually, when I start out classes, I'm so used to having Offsite community sessions only be 30 minutes long. Sure, I feel rushed right now, but I don't need to be rushed. You know, Carly, you know what I'm saying? I'm normally like, let's go right now. I'm like, wait, I can relax right now. So I just want to ask you a question here, everybody. Let's use the chat for this. Let me know how you're doing if you haven't yet. That's important, inside the chat. And besides that, we're going to be talking about using email and Microsoft Teams and Outlook heavily. That's what I want to focus on, Teams for communication. I just want to know what you consider yourself in these platforms. Do you consider yourself a beginner, intermediate user, or an advanced user, whether it's Outlook or Teams, if you don't mind listing that inside the chat. Let's start out with just those two basic questions. Rough morning for me. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully it gets better throughout the day. It's Friday, right? Yeah. Intervanced users, doing good, excited to be here. Glad, thank you. Thank you for being here. Doing well, and I'm a beginner. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Intermediate, beginner, some advanced users. I would say I'm an intermediate user. Okay, intervanced. When someone says they're intermediate and advanced, I call them intervanced. That's what I say, it's just a made up word. Good, feeling pretty good, all right. I use it a lot, have many addresses. We'll love to see inbox 0. Ooh, I believe we have the recorded session, inbox 0, on our YouTube channel, available as well if you want to take a look at that. Yeah. Cool. Doing well, doing well. Okay. So there's something I want to point out before I begin. And there's a reason why I designed this class with one of my instructional designers, why we put this together. There was a demand for it. There's been a lot of situations where people are telling me that their workload during this pandemic has actually increased. The amount of emails they're getting has actually increased. And I just want to let you know some stats that I found on a Harvard business study showing us how much time we're actually wasting. I don't want to call it wasting, how much time we're utilizing throughout the day looking through an inbox. And this is just interesting. I always like talking about it when I talk about an email course, because it's so interesting to see that when you have a large inbox, which I do currently right now, it's good to demonstrate things. It kind of wastes about 21 minutes per day on average, so studies show, while you're trying to search, sort, and filter and find those emails that you need to actively use. I was talking to a colleague of mine just the other day, and they're like, I built this great system where I have these folders, these search folders that I've built. And every day I have these search folders that I can search through to find my inbox emails. And then at the end of the day, I run a rule to clean out my inbox. I'm like, wow, you have it all figured out. You really achieved inbox 0 at this point. I'm like, yep, that's the goal here. And that way at Friday at 2 p.m., I'm not sitting there cleaning my inbox. It's just all automated. I'm like, wow, you got it there. Because at the end of the day, a full inbox can waste about 27 minutes per day, just browsing it, finding the emails, finding those attachments. Now, I have a question for you. There's no right or wrong answer. How many emails do you feel like you get in a day? Let me know inside the chat. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. I've seen so many different responses. The average is about 50 to 75. 100 to 150, 5 to 10, that's pretty good. That's a fun day. 40 at least, about 75 to 100. Depends on the day. That's how I am with mine. Depends on the day, absolutely. I just want you to know that when we're reading, I know I sometimes get emails, the reply all button, as we all know, the infamous reply all button that sometimes gets used a little bit too much, and things that we didn't need to see, and it distracts me as I go through the day, right? You know, I end up turning off my Outlook notifications. I just have a calendar appointment that tells me when to check my meetings. That's what I do. Because the reply all button, I'll end up building a pivot table. And I just got the formula, the conditional format to work or something. I get this message and everyone's like, yes, thank you. And it's a reply all to everybody. I'm like, okay, we're going to roll with that. That just threw me off my track. That is what I mean by costing us 8 minutes per day. And there's something called the zone where us as humans, we get in a workflow. We get in this good flow state called the zone that we get into. And in fact, it's something that we can't be in the entire day. It takes us a while to get into it. We're in it for a couple hours and then it gets out of us. And then we get usually a lunch break and we're out into another zone. And then we kind of cool down towards the end of the day. So we get like 2 zones. We're in the workflow state. When you're getting distracted with these notifications and irrelevant emails that you might have to process that take away from your time, it does break your zone. And on average, in order to get back into that feeling and that groove, it takes about 23 minutes. So it might not look like you're wasting too much time or utilizing too much time managing your emails. Someone said I 100% agree with that. Like, I haven't heard of this thing called the zone, but I definitely feel that way. That's what people usually tell me. Yeah. But as you can see, this ends up adding up to a lot of time throughout the day, and then you multiply it to a year. So what can we do? Breaks your flow, takes you longer to get back to where you're going. Multitasking doesn't exist. I studied computer science when I went to school and college. That's what my background's in. Multitasking doesn't exist. The computer proved it. There's no way that a computer can, it quickly switches between tasks, and it slows down the computer because of it. It slows down, us humans, we slow down because of it too, when we multitask. So the most simple thing that we can do, a secret, I call this pointing out the obvious, is understanding when to use what mode of communication. And of course, different industries, different work environments, there's over 100 of us, I think, at this point. I'll probably need to live even more. Different industry, different work environments may vary in what I'm about to say here and what tools they use for communication. But of course, email, in this day and age, how I see it, if you have other tools available, it's for non-urgent communication and for things to leave the digital paper trail, to have the record of things. I know a lot of organizations these days provide you an Android or an iOS phone where you can even text, or you have Microsoft Teams to do instant messaging. Teams chats, one-on-one chats, private chats, group chats. Great for urgent matters. Don't require back and much and forth. I have a quick urgent matter. A class is about to start in 10 minutes. My manager's messaging me. She is not emailing me. She is texting me, either messaging me on Teams. Hey, you have a class in 10 minutes. Where are you? Things like that. That will never happen. I'm usually on time. But it was a good example. Voice calls, urgent matters requiring a conversation. I read this study on LinkedIn. This one was a super interesting one to me. It took a conversation that can take 5 minutes over the phone, can take up to 45 back and forth emails. A conversation that can take 5 minutes over the phone can be 45, and I believe that, because there's so many missing details as you respond, and then someone's asked a question, and you ask a question. Yeah, voice calls are definitely something. That's my preferred mode of communication with people that I work with in my organization. Like, always call me. If you have to tell me something that's changed, then call me, because it's easier to talk. Yeah. And then something that swept our lives, I am just so used to being on camera now. I'm just so used to it. I know I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm so used to have a lighting set up now. Video meetings have taken over the world, and now we've learned that most meetings are happening with video cameras. Now, video meetings are great because some people don't know this, but communication happens a lot with body language. It's not just the words we're saying. So just listening to our voice, having a camera on, this body language, this communication can say a lot. And compared to writing out a sentence in text, there are better things said in person, and sometimes when person means in video. Yeah. So understanding when to use what is definitely it's a secret to having effective email, because you'll reduce the amount of emails that you have in that inbox. You'll reduce the amount of apply alls. I know, right? Shocker, but it's actually a simple one. I have a question for you. I'm going to make it easy because I know it's some of us are having the end of our days, some of us the beginning of our days. So I'm just going to put a number next to each one of these. Which one do you use the most in your organization and your workflow? What are you constantly doing? I just want to see in this group how different we are in our modes of communication. Teams discussions. I saw that in there. That's happened. Someone said 1, 2, 4. I hate 2. Sophia wrote, I hate 2. Urgent matters. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Me personally, I like to keep everything within an organization tenet. So I like to keep all my conversations in Teams chats if I have to text someone. I have to video call someone. If the chat goes on for more than 3 or 4 messages, I end up saying, "Can I call you?" That's just me personally. If the chat goes on to more than 3 or 4 messages, that conversation, it's better off to just click that call button. Yeah, and of course, have these modes of communication. I was talking to a new colleague of mine, and one of the first things they discussed with me is like, "Hey, how do you want me to work with you? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to text you? Do you want me to Teams you, Outlook you?" And I'm like, man, if I would have done that in the beginning when I first started, 4.5 odd years ago, I would have been a game changer for me. I wouldn't have to worry about someone texting me and then someone emailing me and then me checking my Teams. You just set it straight and set that matter. Okay, this is how I like to be communicated with. Some of us, that simple step can save us a lot of time. Maybe you have your email inbox set up for something and people aren't, or you're getting emails that aren't regarding that purpose. I net people that control 4 or 5 calendars and inboxes a day. It's very hard to manage that when we're getting too many emails that don't even need to be required to be emails. But what can we do to make it more effective in terms of reading those emails and responding to those emails? Well, as we all know, I mean, we're all humans. I'm lazy. If I can find a shorter route to do something, I'm going to do it. I studied computer science. I'm a programmer. I find one way to do something really complex just to never do it again. Snippets and templates, about quick parts. All right. Let's talk about some simple tips though. I want tips that you can walk away with right away. I know most of my classes I'm diving in and using this advanced function, but I like also talking about this high level things that we can do, like this theory behind it. And one thing that I've been doing, especially since the pandemic started, because I'm doing so many communications, whether it's through Teams, a post, an email, video calls. Stephanie, I remember talking about this last session, scheduling to check emails twice a day. That's a good method. But there's something I want you to know about email subject lines. When you're sending emails out to people in this day and age, on average, again, industries and workplaces might differ. Most people are opening up on a mobile device. And they're opening it up on their iPad, Android, iOS phone. And you might be thinking, no, they're at their desk. Even me, I'll respond to emails on my phone, even sitting right here. I'm using Outlook on my phone. And I always wonder, I'm like, oh, it says the message, get Outlook OS, but I'm sitting right here on my desk. I want you to know that you can only see about 5 or 6. I have the iPhone 12, the big one. You can still only see about 5 or 6 words within the subject line. Just 5 or 6 words. So you have 5 or 6 words that they get to see right away. And I just want you to know some certain things that I utilize. I send a ton of emails to, like we said at the beginning, I mean, over 150 different organizations we work with here, large ones, global ones. The subject line, it's okay if it's a summary of the body text. It's supposed to summarize it. So that way, if they read the message, the subject, they know what the body is about. If I went too fast. It's not necessary to use title case. Not necessary. You can be free with it, be creative with it. If it looks like it stands out to you, it probably stands out to the other person when you're making it. I love my IT guy here at Learnit. I love the way he sends his emails. He does this a lot. He always was in the subject line, will use a sentence. I don't even need to read the body. He'll put end of message, EOM. He'll end up putting the date, everything I need in the subject. I don't even need to read the message most of the time. And he puts the most important stuff in the front. Yes, Toby, if you're watching this, I'm giving a shout out to you. Yeah. And I also work with salespeople, and it's so great that as it's going through the learning strategists, as it's going through the pipelines, they're changing the subject lines of emails, letting me know, okay, it's finalized, it's in deliverable stage, things of that nature. I do met some people that they don't appreciate getting their email subject lines changed. Like, oh, I can't find it anymore. But if you communicate it with your group that there's a stage, and every time we hit this stage, we're going to change the email, I can see that being very effective. Yeah. I have a question for you. I'm going to show you this next slide. And these are what I call instructive subject lines. I like to use, remember I said only 5 or 6 words? I like to use these at the beginning of an email. I use these phrases, the title, so that way the receiver knows exactly what you're asking. I have a question. Inside the chat, let me know which ones you actually currently use, if any. You can list a few of them that you use. I see some organizations have adopted this heavily, especially the action required and the no action required. I have many different email addresses. Like some people are saying I use the urgent one a lot. Action required a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's not the only ones. Look, they have a date and time. It's okay. They have a date and time. It's very specific and it's in the front. Urgent, please read. Yeah, you don't need title case. You can go all caps if you needed to. A lot of messages from IT will have action required. Okay. So I want to do a little, it's not a test. Let's call it a game. You want to play a game? Let's play a game. I think it'll be fun. I did this in the class too, but it's just a little shortened little, a challenge game that I have to where I want to show you an email. I want to give you a chance to read it. And you're going to tell me what's the best subject line to use for that email inside the chat. Let me go ahead and put this next slide up here. So here, I'll read it for you if you want, and then I'll let you read it. Hi, Ted. I just spoke with Janessa about our Q4 projections. She needs her report by 4 p.m. tomorrow. I have 2 questions. Oh, I love how they put it in a bulleted list. We'll talk about that. Can you get me your data by 3 p.m. today so that I can combine it with mine? Something by 3 p.m. Interesting. Will you archive your data in our shared drive by then as well? Thanks, Ahmed. So which one do you think we should use here? Reply requested by 3 p.m., action required, time sensitive. Okay. Look, we're all saying different responses. We're all saying different responses. This is interesting. So this is what I go with. Again, this is not a test. It's not a test. Reply requested is actually putting the time, the date, today, within the subject line, which is something okay. Something I definitely recommend, especially if it's that urgent. Like it's so urgent, it's requested by 3 p.m. today, and the report needs to get sent out by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So I consider that. I would ring her. Someone's like, I would just give her a ring. Yeah, if it's that short of a notice, I totally get that. Okay, let's see another one. That was good. That was good. Hi, Kita. Passing on a good word from the CEO today. He was super impressed with your presentation. That's always fun. Definitely consider taking a PowerPoint psychology class. That will definitely impress your CEO with your presentations. Let me continue. He was super smart and impressed by your presentation about our team's SMART goals from yesterday. I really appreciate your hard work and preparation on those. You helped the team shine. But he does have a request at the bottom there. Can you send the presentation? Many thanks, Todd. He does have something at the end there that's a question. You see, I see a lot of us are saying FYI. But if I say that, there's a chance that they might not read that bottom sentence of can you send the presentation, and they might not know that, oh, there's something requested of me. They're like, oh, I'm the man. They said I did awesome. That's what I read, and then they'll just go on with their day. Kudos one will catch my eye. Okay, I get that. Like I'm gonna read the whole thing. It said kudos. All right. So now that we see this here, what I want to talk about is obviously there's actually some choices, right? As we all saw, there's many different responses we could have chosen for a subject line. Not saying all of them are incorrect, it's just that some are more direct than others. So one thing we can control to reduce that time of reading irrelevant emails is subject lines. As you can see, it can help us either skip an email or detail and read it all and understand what we have to do and take that action. Yeah, someone wrote in reply requested implies this needs a reply and it is important. Yeah. There's this trick. There's this trick that I have that I want to discuss. And this is something I want you to consider for people that are crafting emails a lot. It's something that was told to me when I first started working in the corporate world by a manager of mine. And this was after I took a course on business writing. The body of your email, it should be like a formula. It should be like a formula almost. A design structure, an algorithm. This can also be used in conversations. I also find myself when I'm talking to people in conversation, I'm kind of thinking like this now. Now, we have to speak in a way where the receiver already understands how to read the message, how their brain works. We have to send the message and how their brain works, rather than them trying to decipher and sort our message. So I call it the bluff, putting the bottom line up front. Sure, we've heard other terminologies for this, but I call it the bluff. I essentially state the most vital information up front. The most vital information up front. So like some of these emails, like I could change it to the bluff. The things that I requested should have been up front. Oh, by the way, great presentation at the end. Right after, I mean, I'm not saying, leave it blank. Follow up with context and details. That's totally fine, but the most vital information up front. Bluff it. Bluff it. Now, this is something that I want you to consider when you're writing your emails. And if we all consider this, I'm sure our email, the amount that we have to read, will be reduced, especially within an organization. I'm talking about readability. I love keeping things simple, the KISS method. I love keeping things simple, especially in my trainings. I always love keeping things simple. Someone already talking about this. Most people would read a few lines of an email and decide if they'll spend more time to read the whole email. That is very true. That's like we're kind of judging the book by the first few sentences. Now, something I want you to know when crafting those emails, and a lot of this I'm sure we've heard before. Same thing goes for PowerPoints. When you have a paragraph that's longer than 2 lines, studies show that 30% of the audience will actually, I'm not saying they're not going to read it entirely. It's just that they'll kind of browse through it. Like, okay, I'm not going to read the whole sentence. I'm not going to read it word by word. I'm just going to browse through. What's ridiculous? Remember, I said we're humans. We're all lazy. It's the way we are. We take the easy route. When you have a paragraph that's 4 lines, same with your PowerPoints. Remember this. I know people put these massive definitions up. Try to build your text boxes bigger. You lose 70% of your audience. 70% of the audience is just gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna kind of browse through that there. You know what's really cool? When people do read, they read the headers of paragraphs. And that's something I do myself too. When I'm browsing a document, I first read all the headers. That's just something I do myself. I could confirm that. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks inside of Outlook in a little bit. Don't worry. where there's actually headings that you can add. There's SmartArt graphics that you can add when crafting these messages. I was talking to my sister who works at a college, and she told me, she was like, when I build these marketing emails, I have to send it to my marketing department and they have to make it look all pretty. And she was like, I bet that you can do that in a minute. And I'm like, probably. And she showed me the things that they're making. I'm like, oh, okay, they're just using all the messaging options. And I gave her some tips and tricks, and she's like, I'm still going to send it to marketing. I'm like, okay. She's like, I needed more time, but I'm going to get her there. I'll get her there. She's not in this session today, although she should. This is something that I try my best with, especially with emails. I've noticed when I'm working with executive teams, leadership teams, they're a big fan of bulleted lists, numbered lists. It's easy for them to understand. It's just right there in their process. So if you're working with an executive, or if you're working with a leadership team and you're hearing something like, hey, it's hard to understand your email or something, start thinking lists, start thinking bluff, because that will help you immensely. There's also another tactic that I'm going to talk about. But even those lists, no one wants to sit there and read a long checklist of items. Try to keep it 4 bullets or less. 4 bullets or less. It's okay if it goes to 5 or 6, but ideally 4 bullets or less. Yeah, to structure your list in a way to have 4 bullets, or 4 main bullets at least. Yeah. All right. This is one way of crafting emails. When I was working in operations, I remember there was a point almost every day I had to write out an email to the CEO or the COO, kind of crafting what went on for the day. I had to report back. Does anyone ever have to do that? Did they have to write out emails or they're reporting back something? Let me know in the chat box with a yes or no, that's not my jam. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody have to report back a detailed list of what you've done, what's going on with the day. Weekly recap, timestamps. Yeah, most job roles do. Especially, I've noticed, I read something online that people are basically saying your salary is based off what you produce now. You know, not the time you put in or anything. No one's there to watch you. It's just what you've done, what you've produced. Yeah. Because we're all working, most of us are working remotely now. So this next method is something I want to talk about. I also talk about it when crafting presentations to report back ideas. It's the STAR method. The STAR method. I actually write out my emails, and almost I even do conversations and I'm trying to tell a story about something that happened to someone. To where I initially start out my emails, I craft them. I especially did this with my CEO a lot, because there'd be these weird things going on and out. So I'm like, all right, he's not going to read this thing. He's busy. Probably gets 100 emails a day. Like, I need to write it out in a couple sentences for him to read it. Someone said the life of sales. I describe the situation. I just let him know, hey, this is why the email's happening. And then I list the tasks. Hey, these are the things that I need. You know, I might need this person's help. I might need this person's help. And the reason why I need their help is because I need to do these actions. And then it ended up producing, you know, this great content that we have. And reflecting back on it, we should definitely incorporate more of our instructors on these projects, because it helps out things, you know, something of that nature. I was kind of thinking of a scenario that I went through recently. But STAR is something that I do a lot when I'm reporting back to my executive team, letting them know how a project went, letting them know if they ask me an update on something, a status update, I'll STAR it out. And if you're unsure about how to word this, write out STAR, and then in one sentence, write out the situation, and write out your tasks in a bulleted list, write out the actions in a bulleted list. Once you have it out, delete the STAR, don't leave that there. Delete the letters. But for me, it just helped me visually see it, because I'm a visual learner. So I've talked a lot of tips and tricks here, a lot of high level tips and tricks, not really like, hey, click this button on Outlook, click this button on Teams tricks. I just made some high level secrets that we can walk away with designing email, some email stats. Before I dive in and open up Outlook here, I'm going to step away from my PowerPoint for a brief second and show you some messaging options that I've learned about. I just want to hear something. What's your top takeaway from this small little snippet that we discussed? What's your top takeaway? If you can tell your colleagues something about this course that you've learned, what would you tell them right now? Let me hear it in the chat. Subject lines and bluff. That was a fun little, and especially in class when you have 20 or 30 people doing it, they're all on a part of a team. And then you see what people are choosing, what responses, and you're like, oh, okay, that's the way they think. Oh, that's the way they think. And you end up learning in your group when you have this as a private training, a lot about your team and how they think when they're sending emails. Yeah, this class is very beneficial for a group of people that work together. Subject lines, nice. And overchecking emails wastes up to 21 minutes per day. I do have something I want to read to everybody. Hopefully it doesn't get too lost in the abyss of questions. Someone messaged me a private question that was really good. Let me read this out loud here. One second, hopefully I can find it. Didn't go too up. So if I can't find the question, I'm just gonna paraphrase it, it's fine. Someone messaged me a private question saying, hey, these are great tips, but I have a friend of mine that really prefers text communication. And I prefer email communication. And they will literally send me an email saying, I texted you the info instead of sending it to me. And is there any tips that you can give me on that? And there is. We're all humans. We all have our own preferred mode of communication. And it sounds like we're having a conflicting one, and it sounds like we have to work together. So this is what I'd advise. The best way to do things is to meet everyone in the ground middle. I would define with that user, hey, let's have some of our communication that we're okay with via text. Maybe when we're making lunch plans, maybe when we're building events. But when we're building outlines, we're building course materials, let's all have that in email so we can have a paper trail. Because I prefer having a paper trail of the work that I've done. And there should be some fine line between, all right, we're gonna have some form of communication the way you like it, and some form of communication the way I like it. And I think that would be a perfect balance between the two. For the person that asked that question, I would like to read the name out and read the question. But again, there's so many responses here that I flew by it. But that was a great question. You just gotta communicate. Like my new colleague sat me down during lunch and like, well, how do you want me to communicate? What's the ways you want me to do it with you? All right. Okay, let's see here. I have so many responses to look through. 1 second, let me just browse through this really quick. Keep it simple. I like bluff too, be concise. Okay. So what I want to do here, because I still have a little time. I want to ask Carly or Marissa. I tried to look at the chat box as much as possible, but did anyone message you privately? Any questions or anything that I should know about, Carly?
Thanks for checking in, Faz. No direct questions from anyone in the chat. I think you captured that one. Awesome. So with that being said, now that we've discovered some high-level tips and tricks, I see we have a little time. I don't want to spend too much time, but maybe about 10 more minutes. And I want to just discuss Outlook and that message window, that new message window. And I just want to point out some things that I've seen my executive teams use. And I've seen also things that I use that save me time. Sometimes I'm not available on Monday and I have to send out the email on Monday. So I have a delayed delivery of some sort. So features of that nature will definitely help us control our inbox a little bit better. All right, let me pull this up here. Let me pull up my Outlook inbox here. Now, I'm just going to open up a new message. We're not going to focus on the inbox because I want to talk about writing out emails and the effectiveness of it. Now I'm in the message window here. I want you all to definitely, the next time you write out an email, if you're not busy, of course, learn a little bit about your options. There's so many tools that you have available when writing and crafting out messages.
Like one of the things that I'm a big fan of showing in my Outlook intermediate session is the ability to use voting buttons that show up in the reading pane for users within the organization. The keyword is within the organization. You want to have a vote on something? There is some downsides to it. I remember one of my executives messaged me, "Hey, can I change the responses after I've sent the email?" No, you have to build a new vote. My question is this: has anyone actually used voting buttons yet? When sending out emails to track responses there, let me know with a yes or a no, or a not yet. Something definitely useful. Yeah. The cool thing is they already have some built-in responses like approve, reject, yes, no. But you can also build your own custom responses. I've been on the other side of receiving it. That's what someone said. Or what if you're building a marketing campaign and you're crafting this email out and you have a group in Outlook that you want people to get, you want it to send out to that group. Well, you can have the responses to the email. If someone replies to the email, you can have it directed to a certain inbox so that the message responses don't come to you. Has anyone ever set this up using direct replies too? Where they're directing the response of an email to different colleagues of theirs. They've been available quite some time. Someone said nopes. Okay. Nopey nopes. So a lot of little hidden gems there that I like to point out. In the final one, is that something that is able to be used in a reply all responses? Even the reply all, it will direct it to a specific inbox. So if I direct replies to, I can actually choose. I'm going to zoom in here. Have the replies selected and directed to the appropriate contacts. Cool. Now, something my CEO is a big fan of, I used to, when I first started, I would get these random emails at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, wow, you're up early every day. I don't know how you do that. Sometimes at 5:30 in the morning, and then I'm like, I'm going to try to do that too. And I'd be up that early. And then I realized when I had lunch with him, like, oh, he does direct replies. He sets all these things up. Now, how many of us have set up a delay delivery to where we can actually set a certain time where the message will not be sent until that time? I use delay too, but Debbie, that's a good shout out. Someone said, thanks for the Learnit team at Fast. Thank you. We love doing these trainings. Yeah. Very useful for newsletters. Yeah, I was working with one of my clients. She was building this monthly newsletter. We built a Word template for her, but then we ended up adding it to Outlook. Yeah. It doesn't work though. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it. It doesn't work though. I know why. So the delay delivery will only work if your Outlook desktop app is open when that time hits. So if you have your Outlook closed, like an entirely closed, not minimized, but closed, and the delay delivery happens, it ends up not sending it and then when you open up Outlook again, it'll send it, but it just misses that time. Yeah, that's the key culprit that I explained in my Outlook intermediate class, that your Outlook desktop app, not the online version, not the Outlook mobile app, the desktop app must be open for that to work. Cool. So these are some options that we have when delivering the message to hopefully have the user receive it at the correct time, maybe at the early in the morning when the inbox is clear, or we can have those messages go to the appropriate inbox without forwarding a million messages inside the organization. There's something I want to show you all with your lists. Remember how in Bluff and and writing out emails. I'm like, people love lists. When my sister showed me her marketing emails, I saw that her team just understood the concept of how to use the illustrations command group inside of an email. Let me zoom into this here. When you're writing out a new message, you have an entire command group called illustrations, very similar to the PowerPoint or the Word one, where you can insert objects. Now, something that I use when building lists or even a cycle or describing a process to someone is SmartArt. Some people think this is only in PowerPoint and in Word. When I go ahead and click on the SmartArt option here, it's going to allow me to build a much more visual-based list to show inside of my email. Let me go ahead and just do a basic one, a basic list. And I will do a vertical bullet list here. And I'll hit OK. So let me make this bigger. And when I have SmartArt graphics available, how do I get the same menu bar on top? Someone's asking me that right now. It's because you have to start a new email. And when you do that, you'll end up getting the new message box window in the Insert tab. That's why, Shelly. Yeah. And then inside the Insert tab there for a new email message, you'll have the SmartArt option, where I just chose a basic list option there. I'm going to hit OK. And if you want your information to stand out, maybe it's event URLs, you're highlighting things. This is how SmartArt works. I can go ahead and design a nice list within the email. My question is this: how many of us are currently using the SmartArt graphic to display content within emails? Saw how quick that was, and look how nice that looks. It's also available in PowerPoint and in Microsoft Word. Yeah, these things where you can add visuals, objects, they're available. I can even insert shapes in text boxes. A lot of times I'll insert a shape and I'll type inside of it, just to let people know about the details and encapsulate it. Yeah. Now these tools all work together. These tools all work together. Absolutely. So now that we're seeing the tools that we have to write out emails, I really want you to adopt. This is something that has been out for years, but I'm noticing not many people are adopting it. Let me insert a text box. Your cursor inside of the text box and it won't be grayed out. Put your cursor inside the text box and it won't be grayed out. Please, from now on, if you're an Office 365 user and you have to send a message to someone, in the body of the message, type in their name with an @ symbol. When you do that, we'll end up showing you their contact information within the email, and it adds it to the to-line. So that's just my preferred way, and it's called using mentions. It's something that we have available within Outlook, but it also got put into Microsoft Teams to where you can mention someone in a post and they get a notification about it. But in Outlook, it just adds them to the to-line. And then when they're reading the email, they can go ahead and easily see what chunk of the email they should go and read because it's directing them. Does anyone use this? And if you do, you end up seeing inside of your inbox a little @ symbol that pops up. Let's see if I have one that someone's recently used. Yeah, I might not have one. There it is. This little @ symbol. Yeah, so just start utilizing that. It is something that you can filter your inbox for now. If you want, you can filter your inbox based off how many times you've been mentioned. Yeah. So if I've been mentioned inside of an inbox, you can definitely do that. So very useful. Everybody here, I want to go back to my PowerPoint. And not this one, but sorry, I was running a morning training. But this one here. Secrets of effective email. And I want to ask you all, if you can summarize, we spent about an hour. That's a pretty good chunk of time that we get for a class. I like that. If you can summarize your 3 takeaways, 3 things that you walked away with today's session that you think are important for people to know about before we end off today, I would really appreciate that. Call for action. It can be the STAR method, it can be bluff. No matter what, keep it simple. Yeah, that's the best route. Subject lines, bluff, poll. Hey, have fun during your meetings. You saw how I just did a little challenge game? That kind of stuff I've learned. I do training 6 hours a day sometimes. I've learned people need entertainment now. We're in so many Zoom meetings that they appreciate the little gifts of entertainment they get throughout the meeting. Yeah. Ask colleagues how they like to communicate. Jonathan got kissed right on. 5-minute phone calls, 45-minute emails, subject line, delay with opening an app, using SmartArt. Awesome training. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dorothy. You're good at the fun part. I try my best. I try my best. Yeah. Lots of caffeine. That's the trick. Using the @ symbol. These are great takeaways. How to connect. Great hints and options to simplify and be more effective. Yeah, the first 30 minutes were not features. These aren't functionalities you have to learn. These are just things that we can pick up after today and start utilizing them within our subject lines and within the bodies of our emails. Carly, I know you do probably have some finishing touches there in the last 5 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time. Yeah.
Faz, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for sharing your takeaways in the chat as well. If you enjoyed the session, show Faz some love in the chat, maybe share a little reaction, maybe a heart, a little party hat. Everyone loves a good party hat on your Friday morning. So Faz, thank you so much for being adaptable and leading this session and designing this session. We're so grateful to have you. For those of you that maybe jumped in late or you want to revisit this session, it will be available in Offsite. So I'll go ahead and put the link to join Offsite in the chat here. It's offsite.learnit.com. And you simply just join. You can connect your LinkedIn or you can use your email, and it's absolutely free to join. I promise we won't spam you. It's all content and recordings from these live sessions. And you can also ask your questions in real time, and our instructors will get back to you within 24 hours with responses. So really encourage you to keep engaging and learning in there. And as an Offsite member, you also get special discounts and just opportunities to dive deeper with our team. And these are a couple of full-length workshops that our team does recommend to help you keep kind of building on what we learned today. We have a 2-hour workshop on time management coming up on October 13th, communication strategies on October 19th. It's two 2-hour workshops over 2 days. Professional and fast emails is one of my favorite workshops that we do on October 20th. And if you are an Outlook user and you want to dive more into actually the Outlook interface, we have that later in October as well. Again, this is all content that are paid workshops. However, if you're a current Learnit customer, feel free to connect with me and we can work on getting you in these classes or designing a workshop for your team privately. Or if you're an Offsite member, there are special deals for you in there. So encourage you to join. And just here's a little QR code to help you join Offsite. Again, the link to join is also in the chat, or you can just simply scan this little QR code here. We have more special sessions like this one happening every Friday, as well as sessions on Wednesday. And Faz is in there answering questions along with our instructor team. And just to give you a little bit of a cue of what's on the docket for September, thank you so much to everyone who's been following along in August. If you attended all 4 Friday sessions in August, you'll be getting your badge of certification on people leadership by next Friday. And our theme for September is Excel power user. So we'll be focusing on more technical skills and helping you learn Excel, all the way from learning the basics to learning how to really do more advanced data visualizations and use Excel as a tool to be a better leader leading into the end of the month. So we hope to see you then. Again, our goal is really to help you build practical skills to use every day. And so I really want to thank Faz for helping us do that today. Of course, if you have questions, if you're looking to connect with people in our team, please feel free to reach out to me in offsite or via email. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully next week. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll go ahead and put offsite in the chat one more time. There we go. All right. Bye, everybody.